everyone, how are we almost halfway through the year already? Not sure if it's just me or this year is on steroids. It's flying by and there's so much going on. And I guess it's all just relative to the past 2 years that have been pretty stagnant with the pandemic and lockdowns. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments below. Anyway, let's get into today's bite. So today's bite is dedicated to those who aren't married or who are not in a committed relationship yet. Have a think about this before saying, I do. So over the last few years, through witnessing a few relationships around me unfortunately fall apart, observing the lasting relationships, and then chatting to people who do premarital and marriage counseling or facilitate it, I've identified some crucial criteria that can make or break the relationship. Those are the negotiables and the non-negotiables. So, number one, before getting into a relationship or even dating, browsing around, checking out the landscape, I recommend the following. Write a list of non-negotiables and negotiables. What are the very specific things that you want in a spouse that is non-negotiable? This could be, for example, being of the same faith, perhaps the line of work or the salary bracket. Believe me, money and who earns more can become significant issues. And another big one, do you want or not want children? And if you do, how many? You can never compromise on your non-negotiables when you're all starry-eyed and obsessed, because these can make or break your relationship when the sparkles dim and the relationship begins to take work and effort. I am shocked when I learn of how many people do not even discuss these very examples going into their relationships, compromise them, and then left for the very same reasons. Then, do a list of your negotiables. This may be the age at which you want to have kids, for example, or how to balance the housework, how to split Christmas and key events or days. This list is about your ideals, things you would prefer or like, but are willing to compromise on without them significantly impacting your core values, your beliefs, your life goals, passion, or purpose. And maybe there are things you would change your mind on anyway with time, irrespective of whether or not you're in a relationship, like relocating for work, for example. Number two, you're dating or you are now scouting the landscape or are in a relationship. Communicate. Communicate your non-negotiables and your negotiables to understand whether or not this person is worth pursuing or investing time, effort, money, and emotions on. Understand key principles like submission versus the head of the home. What do each of those things look like to you? What does it look like to that person? How do you understand it? What does it mean to you and how does it impact both of you? This was a serious issue in my first year of marriage. We never really discussed it as we both assumed we were on the same page. We both knew that I wanted to submit and that my husband would be the head of the home. That much we agreed on. But what those concepts looked like or meant to each of us and how we would fulfill those positions or roles were completely out of sync. We had completely different mindsets on it, hence we grappled with it until we found what worked for us. That was an unnecessary tension that we could have resolved prior to getting married. Another key principle that could fall under negotiables is if the woman earns more than the man. Most women I know don't have a problem with this. However, most men I know do have an issue with their wives earning more than them. So how do you deal? The next thing to communicate are expectations. I'm sure all married people would agree with me that you go into your marriage with many expectations, some conscious and some unconsciously. Obviously, you can't really prepare for the unknown or the underlying ones. However, please communicate the conscious ones. So, for example, I went into my marriage expecting my husband and I to split house and parenting duties equally. That's not the case. Or my husband came into our marriage expecting me to do all the parental duties like bathing, nighttime wake-ups, nappy changes, all feeds. That was not the case either. The next thing, observe for potential lifestyle red flags. Are there things about the other person that may eventually not sit right with you in terms of your lifestyle? For example, they may be partying or living it up, being carefree, and you might be quite the opposite. And potentially you could identify that person to be someone that can't control themselves. Maybe they're not responsible or mature enough to handle adulthood and marriage. Or what are their spending and saving habits like? Could their lifestyle possibly lead to cheating or an affair? What's their temper or anger levels like? Could it lead to abuse, physical, emotional, verbal abuse? Are they understanding and willing to see your point of view? Or are they very much a my way or the highway kind of person? Finally, seek out and know your united purpose. In season 1, episode 13, I spoke about understanding why you're together. You each have passions, goals, purposes that you desire to fulfill and succeed at. So you may have met the person that fits all of the above, is a good person, but are your purposes aligned so that together you fulfill a combined purpose that's bigger and greater than you as individuals? The Bible says that when you get married, you are no longer two, but you become one flesh. So you have to be of one mind, one accord, working towards common missions, purposes, goals, etc. And to understand that more, you can check out season 1, episode 13, Why Are We Together? But going into your marriage, knowing your together purpose anchors you both when times get rough, because you realize there's a greater purpose to fulfill and you fight for it together than just you on your own wanting out when your love and affection wears thin. Now, obviously, I've just shared some examples within each criteria, but I think the criteria are very much fixed or solid. Let's go through it again. List and communicate non-negotiables. List and communicate negotiables. Communicate key principles and expectations. Observe for potential lifestyle red flags. Seek out and know your united purpose. And of course, finally, pray. Do nothing without prayer. Hope this helps you if you're single and ready to mingle or aren't married yet. Be safe, take care, and God bless. Well, it's been a while since I did a kilobyte challenge. I myself have fallen off the wagon and I'm starting to get back into it. So if you're like me and you haven't fully been committed recently to a healthy lifestyle, let's get back into it. Rather than a challenge for today, let me encourage you with this quote by Elizabeth Elliot. We cannot give our hearts to God and keep our bodies for ourselves. Just as we work on our spiritual life, let's also work on keeping our bodies, temple of God, well maintained. Bye.